You are entering the cosmos.
Hello, good evening, everybody. This is kind of this is a soft pilot, a soft premiere. We didn't even have it planned, but our working title for this upcoming series, which you're going to get a sneak peek of tonight, is Talk of the Town, spelled with a W, because women, as you're going to see, are going to play an integral role into this series. And a lot of the women that you're going to see on screen tonight have been talking about these two controversial, very fiery, and hot topics for quite a while. And I've just been champing at the bit, and I know a lot of them have been really eager to explore these both together and with the audience. So I hope that people will chime in. If you're in the audience, you're a part of the show. And if you're on the replay squad, we greet you. We will come in. Hopefully, we'll get to your comments as well. But we're going to discuss two very interesting topics that I personally haven't seen that many people talk about. And that is, for the first segment, going to be women who compete with other women or even undercut other women. This is something that I don't hear enough people talking about, but it's a very real experience for a lot of females of all ages. And that'll be the first half. The second half, we're going to go into body positivity and body shaming and some really interesting topics that you might want to be aware of. You might not want certain people of certain ages, or if you have any triggers within body positivity, you might not want to tune in for that second half of this program. But let's get started. We are very lucky that for the first segment, we have two honest to goodness stars, and they are absolutely amazing. They're multifaceted. You're very aware of who these girls are. They co-host and run and produce an entire show called Orchid Times. And I think I'm going to just bring them up right now. This is Lilly May and LindaRose.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me on today. I'm so excited to be here.
Definitely. I'm so excited to see both of you. And I see we are all wearing red lipstick. This is pretty cool. And because you girls won't be here for the second segment, I did want to just do a quick lead in because we are wearing the red lipstick. Can you girls give us a little bit of a breakdown about what the red lipstick campaign was that we did last year and how that came about?
Absolutely. So the Red Lipstick campaign was something that me and Linda and Jaime Bennett started. So we had gotten quite a few comments from stuff about us wearing red lipstick. I had gotten a comment personally about how young women shouldn't be wearing red lipstick because it can make us seem older or something. And we dived in and researched about the meaning of red lipstick, and it means power and women empowerment to everybody. It was something that started back in World War II. So we wanted to bring up that campaign to wear red lipstick to empower and inspire women all around the world. So that's kind of where the red lipstick campaign idea came from.
Right. And this was someone who was male who seemed to have a problem with the fact that you were wearing red lipstick. He felt like maybe it was not something that you should be doing. How did that make both of you girls feel, and how did you tackle it? How did you respond to that? Because I know when I was your age, you're both 15 years old. I know that when I was your age, I lacked a lot of boldness and there wasn't a lot of wokeness. When I was your age, I would have definitely fallen into this kind of scared attitude and gone within myself and removed my lipstick. I can guarantee that's what I would have done. What did you girls do?
Well, I know Lily definitely, we removed the problem by removing the guy who continues to try and, be included in the Orchid Times. And we're still working at getting him away. But a main thing that we did and something that I did is we also got another few hate comments about how women empowerment doesn't exist and things like that. And I went on Orchid Times, which anybody can go watch the video. And in the video, I took down the comments and I actually applied red lipstick live on the video. And something that everybody can do if someone does give you hate and anything is you have to be yourself, because that's the only way that they're going to know that they're not affecting you, even if they are. You just have to act like they aren't, because if you act like they're affecting you and remove whatever you're wearing, like red lipstick or clothes that they're giving you hate for, you're going to give them the power, and you don't want to do that because you are amazing, and they just don't get the opportunity to see that, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so important not to let anybody influence what you want to do. It's really important just to stand up for what you believe in.
Right. And here's a question for you girls, especially since it's Women's History Month. And I know Orchid Times really does a lot to empower females. Do you think that males of your age, maybe who have their own TV shows or whatever, do you think that people are coming to them and scrutinizing their wardrobe or fashion choices the way that you have been?
No, absolutely not. I think that that's something that a lot of women and young girls have to deal with a lot more, is that they're judged more on their looks, and that's really sad. It's a really sad thing that happens a ton in industries like the beauty industry too. Women are judged more on their looks than male coworkers or something. I know lately on TikTok and on media, there's been a really big issue going on with Selena Gomez and Kylie Jenner and Hailey Bieber, where they've been shaming Selena for her eyebrows and posting just really terrible content on media. And I think it's really important that women just all stick together. And as it was kind of going into what you were talking about before, women shouldn't be undercutting other women. It's toxic femininity, and we need to all stand together and be the change we want to see from men.
Exactly. So thank you for that segue. By the way, you can tell that these girls are co-hosts, and because she did a proper segue there better than anything I could have done. And of course, this segment is about women undercutting other women, being competitive against other women. Many times behind closed doors, if two women or more are talking, they will talk about how some of their biggest problems come from other women instead of men, which is really alarming and not helpful or conducive to harmony at all in this world, right? So, talk a little bit more, both of you, about that and about what do you girls think moving forward, especially with your younger generation? What is something that we can do to first address this issue and also to overcome this issue?
Yeah, I think that it is a big issue that isn't talked about enough. Like you said, it's definitely uh, something that I've learned is that a girl who, from my experience, just when girls do talk bad about other girls, it's usually they're talking bad about someone who's comfortable with their body and or comfortable with the way they are and comfortable with their personality, and the other girl that's talking bad about her isn't comfortable with themselves, which is totally okay to have your insecurities. I have my insecurities. I'm sure Renee and Lily have theirs too, and every person, everybody, including males, have their insecurities, and it's completely fine to have them, but you can't attack other people because you have those insecurities and they don't have the same insecurities. And even if they could have your insecurities too, they just could be acting like everything's fine because that's what works for them. But instead of attacking them, you could talk to them and kind of a lot of girls that I know who have insecurities different than mine are really good at talking to each other, and it's kind of like a therapy session because you can relate to one another even if it's different insecurities. And I think that talking bad about each other behind each other's back or even to their face is it's something that it shouldn't even be a thing because we are women, and the amount of hate that we face on the daily anyways, from dress codes to just sexual assault and things like that, we just have to stand together, and being rude to each other is going to create this wall that we don't want.
Wow, that's awesome. Lily May?
Yeah, totally. I agree with everything that Linda said. Another thing I think is that we just need to watch what we're commenting on other people's stuff, because comments and topics like that it can affect the other person. I know that I just this week got a comment on one of my videos about from another woman saying that I should change my glasses and wear a smaller pair. And again, this is another example of toxic femininity, because women shouldn't be commenting on other people's appearances, and body positivity is so important.
Right. And that reminds me of what LR just said. It comes from insecurity. So it's like hurt people, right? Someone who feels less than, someone who doesn't feel like they're enough. And especially as females are still an oppressed class, a heavily oppressed class, we are not totally free the way our male counterparts are. I think there is a feeling sometimes among some females that they feel if another woman is excelling or advancing, that she will be held back, that there might be only so many slots available. And Do you think that that's part of it too, that there's like a jealousy aspect or feeling that there are so few women who will be able to advance that maybe we need to hold some of them back?
Yeah, I do think that could definitely be an aspect of it too. And it's like you said, it's just really important that we don't try to tear each other down while getting to our goals too. Because another really important thing is that we're stronger together. And if women just stand together to help build each other up to their goals instead of tear each other down, everybody will get further in their goals.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I think that an important thing too is that even if there is a tiny space for women, having one woman go up and be in that space and having them excel, even if it's not you, having that one woman there is going to create room for you too, and it's going to create room for a lot of other women. So I think that's also something that needs to be kept in mind, that just because one woman is doing it and you in your mind believe that you're not going to be able to get there, her excelling to that point is going to help other women be able to excel to that point, because it's going to open up eyes of other people. And I think that's something to keep in mind as well.
Right. So the rising tide is going to lift all ships. So we're all in this together, right? Let's see what someone from a different generation wants to weigh in. This is your grandmother. Everybody knows her. This is Farwell.
Hi guys.
Farwell. Sorry, my accents are always weird. My vowels are weird this month. I don't know what to say. Hello.
It's the talk.
It's the
How
talk.
about the talk? The
It's
East
the talk.
Coast.
I can't talk straight. Talk.
Um. So first of all, do you know what it's like to have to go after these girls?
Yeah, sorry. I do
Have
apologize.
mercy.
I wouldn't have done it to you, but what can we do?
Amazing.
They're running the show.
I know.
It's so amazing. I love it.
I wanted to comment on the incident that Lily brought up with the, you know, mega stars or whatever you want to call them. One thing I noticed is it started out with one girl shaming another girl's body, and then it became this back and forth, and then shaming her film that she did with her eyebrows, whatever, whatever. But now both sides are crazy. Like the other side is now putting, you can't go on TikTok without seeing 900 pictures of Jenna and Bieber when they were kids and looked, awkward and had
Right.
glasses and were overweight. And so it's like we're continuing the very thing we want to stop in the patriarchy, right? We're doing
Right.
it to ourselves in that incident, right? Like we're pulling ourselves down. So yeah, everything the girl said. I mean, I can't really. I think a lot about work situations when I think about women and how you said like one spot, and then you have, that dead even rule. I can't remember the whole rule, but it's like dead even rule, and it
Right.
was and where if you are competing for a position or something and the other person is more energetic, then you automatically can't be friends with them, right? Because you need to compete with them. So we automatically go into that, not all of us, but in general, the way that we were raised is to go into that mode of like beast mode, right? And blinders, and it doesn't matter, right? Somebody's got to end up being queen bee, because why? Because it is the fact that in higher leadership positions, there are only so many slots for women. It's getting better, you know? And it's not fair to men either, because women have a lot to offer, right? So,
Right. I mean, there was an op-ed written several years ago by a woman in technology. She was a leader in technology, and she said every time she tried to get a job and the hiring manager was a woman, she knew she would not get that job. She
yeah,
wanted a male hiring manager. She said that on the job, men were on average much more pleasant to her and much more willing to help her career advance. That was really striking
eye
for me. And I think
awakening,
it comes
right?
down to what you're talking about one role
It's the
being
same thing with like the medical field. How many women have you heard say, I want a male doctor? Older women are
yes,
usually like, I want a male doctor. Why? Because
yes,
in their mind, they're smarter, right?
yeah,
Like they
that's
know
what
more,
they
they're more
think.
educated. They so we definitely have, and we had talked about this a million times, wanting to do, which this will be another show, but wanting to do a show where it's fair balanced, right? Because we talk a lot about the patriarchy and down with the patriarchy, whatever,
Mhm.
and we talk a lot about women's rights and everything. But there's other sides, right? Like so this whole part of women tearing. I mean, there were women marching in parades, and granted, there's things that were done that I wouldn't do, but I'm not ripping them apart. You know what I mean? I'm not like, oh,
Right.
look at those women. You know, like
Right. Right. And
we're defeating ourselves, and we're giving in to exactly what they want.
it's
Right? The world
disappointing
wants us to
because
shut each other up.
yeah, and it's so disappointing because I'm always focused on the male allies and trying to make sure they know their lane. Like, okay, you don't understand us, you're not us, but we need your assistance to help men understand how to be allies. And that's a really important thing where they have to play this support role instead of trying to take charge or lead. But then there's now toxic femininity. And I'm really curious because we have them for a few more minutes here. Lilly May and LindaRose, who are both in high school now, what do you see having to do with toxic femininity in your own age bracket and with your peers? I guess the Selena Gomez or the Kardashians are a little bit older than you, but do you come across this in high school or with friends or just in the culture? What's the barometer reading on that?
I have been super lucky. I don't deal with it too much in school, but I do see a lot of other people dealing with it in my school and on social media with like just other women trying to tear each other down instead of bringing each other up. Like you were saying, a lot of it happens too with women in their career paths where they think that everybody can't be in. And it's important, like what Linda said, that if somebody is succeeding, we can be happy for them because it's a win for women everywhere.
Right.
Yes, very good.
Yes.
And I go to public school. I go to a giant public school. It's huge. It has so many kids, and it is. I see there are, because my school is so big, and because of the area I live in, we do have frequent fights at school. That are pretty frequent. We usually have around one a week, and surprisingly, most of the fights are between girls, and they're
Wow.
physicality fights. But most of them are between girls. I can't remember. I think we've only had one between two boys, and it was not a physical fight. It was just a verbal one. But most of the physical ones are between girls, and it's usually a girl starts picking on somebody else, or they get caught talking, saying something bad about another girl, and they someone throws the first punch, and it goes on from there. And a huge I'm gonna swear, everybody's gonna be shocked, but um a huge word that is used that a lot of women call each other is bitch. And that is something that I think is I would never call another girl that. And um it's I don't think people realize that it is a hurtful word, and it's not a word that should be, used, that should not be taken lightly. And it's especially words like that and physicality fights at my school are taken really lightly with the administration when it's between two girls, because they think, oh, it's just tiny little fight, like they'll
They're
be
catty. They'll work it
after
out.
that aren't real. They're not real fights. And I think it women if girls in my school could just if girls in my school could just learn that you don't have to get along with each other. You don't have to like each other, you don't have to like each other, but you have to at least be bearable around each other, so you're not hurting the other education or showing something that doesn't need to happen. Because you don't have to be best friends, but you at least have to be acquaintances and be nice to each other. Because otherwise, you're gonna create a lot of draft between. And I just wish that girls in my school would realize that you don't have to like each other, but you have to at least be nice to each other.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's such an important
Well
topic. I also wanted to bring something up that toxic femininity is something I've experienced more from the older generations. I haven't experienced it. I've seen it of other people experiencing it from the younger, but I've personally had more experiences with it with the older generation. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Can I just clear up the fact that an older generation to them is anybody born before the 90s?
We did a TikTok
I
about
I
that.
just
We
I
did a
just want to
TikTok.
let y'all know you're
Yes.
old.
Yes. And Bethy Allen is here. Bethy.
Yes, hop
You're
in, hop in.
come
I
in,
wanted to
Bethy.
follow up on what Linda Rose said about the word bitch, because it's kind of like other words that have been like, we have changed that word, right? We turned that word around, and now we're like, oh yeah, damn
Right.
right, we're badass bitches, right? Like, but when you say it to another woman in a derogatory way, it's no different than any other word that you're swearing or cursing at somebody. And she's right. It's very disrespectful, right?
Exactly.
But it is funny how sometimes we turn things around and claim them, and then they lose their power, right?
Right.
Like it
Exactly.
loses its power. I just was
And
thinking about that we're talking.
no, I wanted to talk about that too. Let me just put I forgot to put the banner up here. I'm going to call it, and thank you, Lilly May, for reminding me. This is called toxic femininity, which is a term I don't hear that often, but I want us to start making it really get some feet on it, because it really describes. We hear so much about toxic masculinity, and it's so great to remember that women also, just by the fact that you're a woman, doesn't mean that you're advancing the cause just because you're a woman. You have to, look what the Orchid Times girls do. They put in a lot of work, right? But what you said, first of all, I wanted to call attention to what David said. He's been at a place where a female supervisor intentionally was choosing men to hire because she felt there was more drama between women in the workplace. Brittany confirmed that and said there's a lot of she has problems making friends with women at work. And then Bethy Allen said what you said, Can we talk about owning that derogatory word
Yeah.
and how we've made it a sometimes friendly thing by taking the power of it? Right. So it depends on the context, right? So if you say, oh, you're my B word, and you mean it with affability and love, that's different. But if you're doing it like LR's talking about, where you're calling, it's because like you're calling out a female for being that and then trying to undercut them and ruin them.
It's like,
Wow.
so there's huge power in words, right? So by us owning that, or let's talk about the N word, right? Like,
Right. That
I can't
parallel.
say that. That would be awful. I don't want to hear it, but I have friends and stuff that back and forth talk that way because they claimed it, right?
Right.
It's in the rap songs. So that's what we do, right? In some cases, the word gets turned around and it becomes almost empowering and theirs, right? And bitch is ours, right? So don't call me a bitch to my face, but I can call, we can all be a bunch of bitches
Right,
together.
yeah, it's like you can't say that, but yeah. I want to bring on, before the Orchid Times girls have to go, I want to bring on Sandie Dee and Jaime Bennett to see if they can weigh in on this topic before we change course. Hello, girls.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
So you girls have been you women have been backstage. What would you like to add to this particular topic about women who they think there's only roles for a few of us at the top, and so they undercut? There's jealousy, competition, insecurity.
Yeah, I've experienced that a lot in my jobs. I finally got to a position of being a manager on one of my jobs, and I worked very, very hard to get to that position and for many years in that particular industry. And another female was getting trained to take over my position. Like, I essentially was training her to take over my job so that I could go to another location. And what I didn't realize is I was training her to just completely take over my job, and I wasn't going to be going to the other location. And yeah, I got demoted from that position that I worked really hard for, and this other female got put in that position, and it just was not a good experience.
Wow. Wow. Okay, Sandie
Yeah.
Dee.
I was going to say that, I like what Bethy Allen said in the comments that, depending on how you use it, if you're using it with your girlfriends, joking around, you're almost taking the power away from that word, and it's no longer hurtful. It's more like I love you, it's more like, nudging someone in the elbow or shoulder, like, I love you, beyond, like I do that with my girlfriends, and we're not offended. We know we love each other, and we can call each other that, and we just laugh.
So it's like context, like we said, like I'm not going to have a conversation with LindaRose and vice versa using that word to each other. You know what I mean? Like it just would not be, it becomes a respect issue, right? But if you're using it, like you said, we're both like all the time, us girls are talking, right? We're trying to figure out stuff, what have you, in meetings and everything else. And we're like, hey, we did it, bitches. We did it, right? Like,
Yeah.
so if somebody's offended by it, that's fine. You're not going to say it, right? Because they don't like that word. And it's the same with anything else. If somebody doesn't like being called something, you don't call them that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I
I
would
mean, it seems pretty simple to me, but we can't seem to.
Right.
Yeah.
And because of the power dynamic, I would caution men who are listening to this, who are watching this,
Mm,
please don't use that word against women. Please do not. If you call, even if you think you're being cute or whatever, it's really not your place. And this is, again, men who are allies staying in their lane. It's just like a white person, even if they think that they're having fun, stay away from that N word, because a
yeah.
woman
Unless
that's
it's David in the
power
comments.
dynamic.
David can call me that. I don't care.
Okay, if there's a special license, right? Like a special, I mean, we can't, every relationship is unique, but I'm just saying generally, like if you don't know someone and you don't have a permission to do that, that's not that's not a good thing, because women might not feel that they can stand up for themselves. That's the thing, because of the power
Well,
dynamic, because of the
let's think
patriarchy.
about it. Where'd the term queen bee come from, right? Well, you want to be queen bee, there's only one queen bee.
There's only one queen bee,
There's
right?
only one, right? There's only a place for one, and she has to. All the rest are minions, right? Because she's had to claw her way to get to that position,
Right.
theoretically.
Mhm.
And so once they're in there, what do? They start acting like the men who came before them, because that's what they think they need to do to get and hold that position.
Right. And there's
It's
this
almost
idea.
like they take on the traits instead of, but it is getting better. We're learning, right? We're learning, and we're like, no, I'm bringing women with me. There's a lot of, more women are thinking, look at Cosmos. Half of leadership is women, and all of OST is, right? So it's like we're learning and things are changing and everything's growing, but it's going to take time. But it's this generation that we're looking at right here that both said they don't tolerate it.
Yeah.
Right now,
We weren't
somebody.
allowed to say that stuff when we were their age. God forbid.
Yeah, we weren't. And one of the things too is, I mean, I still keep going back to what LR and Lilly May were saying about, insecurity, and I put jealousy into that too. One of the great ways to ensure that women will support other women, and I can even say this anecdotally about my own personal journey as a woman,
Stop.
the more confident a woman feels about herself and the more fulfilled she is, the less she's going to want to take from other women, because she's going to feel whole and she'll want to give back and she'll want to elevate other women because they won't be a threat to her. I always think about the old adage, a scared dog bites. Like if a dog is terrified, that's when they'll bite. When a woman or anyone who's oppressed feels that she is about to have her head on the chopping block, she will lash out at anyone that she considers to be a peer or her competition or who's up for her slot. So the more that we can get women to, and that's what Orchid Times is all about, empowering women. Because when you empower women, then that woman feels like she is enough, that she is a whole autonomous individual. She does not need to go out and try to keep other women down. It only builds her up at that point emotionally
Right.
to build other women up. So I think that's so one of the things as we end this segment is, I would say to people, of course, go back and watch all the Orchid Times. Go back and watch
Yes.
all of them, because each one of them I've learned
Educate
from, and
us.
they are empowering other women. And then just do work on yourself as well. If you're a woman, what would you girls say? You women say, work on yourself to emotionally know that you are enough as you are. Do you think that that's helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to be confident in yourself, like you were saying. And I know you guys brought up a lot of really great topics, especially about like taking the power back from an originally derogative word. I know Lizzo talks about this a lot, but we knew that men weren't going to stop using that word. So we took it and took the power from it and made it positive instead.
Right. Interesting. That's true. And did I say there was a Facebook user who asked, is there a male equivalent of taking power over a derogatory word?
Yeah, if you have a word that's derogatory, tell us. If you don't like it, right?
It's
I mean,
problematic because you're in
there's words,
control,
right?
right?
If so, it comes down to this. If somebody tells you that a word, they do not like it, do not call them that, then guess what? You do not call them that. I don't care if you're talking about women, race, religion, sexuality. If somebody tells you what they want to be called, have some respect and call them that, or get the hell out of their way.
Well, I was gonna, and I've been saying this, and now we're getting a little bit off topic, but I want to say this just to put this in there. I've been saying this for years. When we talk about indigenous peoples who say, look, stop using our terms for things in the culture like sports teams and all of that. And I would always say, doesn't it just come down to basic human respect, dignity, and manners? If somebody is telling you, don't call me that or don't do that to my name, I don't like it, it makes me feel bad. Why would you keep doing it? We do this with nicknames all the time. There are people who just say, look, I don't want you to call me that. Isn't it just really nice and harmonious to just say, oh, got it, instead of deconstructing it and fighting it? And anyways,
Right.
sorry,
I
that's
mean, it's all about respect. And also, the other thing is it's all about education and accepting change. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, over 50% of what I learned in school has now been proven wrong,
yes,
right? I'm
definitely.
old.
Especially
So
the
it's like
science books
I've
too,
had to
especially the science
adapt.
books and the history
I've
books.
had to adapt and educate myself, or else I don't know what LindaRose is learning, right?
Mhm.
So we have to be willing to change and to learn and to grow, and that's in anything. And it's the same with men. If a man says to me, "Don't call me that," I don't like it. Like, I don't know, they don't want to be called an ass or whatever. I don't know. Then personally, we don't call people names. So even in fights in our home, but
That's below the belt. You don't go below the belt.
we
This
just
is good
don't. But
sportsmanship. Good sportsmanship.
right,
Yeah.
like if
Okay.
I'm mad, I'm not going to start spewing names. I feel like if I'm doing that, I have reached a level where I need to walk away and come back when I can have an intelligent conversation.
Right. Well,
That's on
Ilana.
me. I'm losing my shit.
Well, Ilana is here, and she's another attorney, and she'll tell you, even being a court attorney like she
Yeah.
is, you have rules, you have boundaries, and you have respect. In international law, attorneys call each other, the opposing ones call each other friend. As my friend said, that's the opposing counsel that you call in international law friend, because we're supposed to have respect with rhetoric. Even though you're trying to persuade and get your point across, you still have to be very respectful. But we're getting a little bit late on time here, so I want the Orchid Times girls to just sort of weigh in, and then also to introduce their show that's coming up on Wednesday. And then
Yay.
we'll let them go because they're more busy than anyone else on this panel. So, you want to weigh in, girls?
Yeah, I loved getting to come on here, and there was so many great topics, especially talking a lot about toxic femininity. It's just something we need to remember is that it's really important to be kind to other women, and we don't need to be commenting on other people's appearances or trying to tear each other down. If one wins, we all win.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful that you guys had us on today. And I think that if you do witness toxic femininity, that stand up for each other, and also just be there for each other, because we want to be together so that we're not creating a wall between each other. We don't want to create a wall, because then the women aren't going to get as far as we want to go.
Right, exactly. Okay, so then, and what's coming up with Orchid Times? How can people follow you, and what should they be tuning in for next on the horizon?
So yeah, make sure to go follow us on social media as Orchid Times. We have a Facebook group, Facebook page. We have TikTok where we post a lot. We have Instagram, all of that. Make sure to go follow us. Next week, we're going to be airing an interview we did with Clara Woods, an international painter. She is amazing, so make sure to tune into that this Wednesday at 7 EST. And yeah, and I know during this Women's History Month, we're doing a fundraiser on March 29th. So if you're interested in doing a fundraiser for us, check out the Orchid Times group, and we have the information linked in our featured bar.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, girls. So we'll see you girls on Wednesday, and thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
They're so awesome, as you all know. Okay, I'm going to bring Sandie Dee back on, back on, and Jaime back on, and hopefully, and the audience is still here. They're kicking. They're ready to
Can we
go.
just talk about that quote LindaRose just threw out there? My Lord. She said, what'd she say? Build a wall. We need to work together so we don't build a wall between us.
That's what'll
Like,
go on the TikTok. We're going to have the little quote right there on that little clip. That's the quote that we're going to put on there.
seriously. The girls are
So
amazing. They're amazing.
they,
Future's
oh,
looking good.
it is. And Jaime, I don't know if you want to take this opportunity to talk about Willow and what she's doing. And also, you have some very important, you have a double header coming up. I want everyone in the audience to know how to follow that starting at 7 p.m. We got 2 hours of Jaime coming up.
Yeah. Wow. How can I follow? How can I
Right?
follow LindaRose and Lilly
I'm
May?
sorry. What can we do? I know it's horrible. It's awful.
No
I'm sorry.
pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. But you just follow the best broadcasters in the business.
The Warrior Within, I'm going to be talking about sensitive topics as usual, and I'm going to get the male perspective of, they always say deadbeat dads, but there are deadbeat moms out there, and I want to shed some light on single dads. So I talk about that, and then I also talk about wearing your heart on your sleeve. So it's a two topic episode. And, I don't think that women or anyone should conform to society and how they want us to speak, how they want us to look. We do not need to be conformed, and we do not need to be put in a very, very tiny box. Don't, make us be a certain way, because you put too many expectations on us as females. You put too many expectations on people in general, and that bleeds through society, and it stains other people in society. We need to be better. We need to do better. So that's what the Warrior Within is going to be talking about tonight, and viewer discretion is advised. That's all I can say. And then at 8:00 I have the Dark Glitter sessions. Anybody who knows me knows that I love heavy metal music. So it's going to be the second part in a 4-part series. And I'm going to be talking about Black Veil Brides.
Oh, wow. Awesome. And they can catch which one on the YouTube and which one on Facebook?
So the Warrior Within at 7:00 is going to be on Cosmos Facebook. It's also going to be on Cosmos YouTube channel and my personal YouTube channel of Star Raven Studios. And then the Dark Glitter sessions, because I have video footage of the concert, is just going to be on Cosmos YouTube as well as Star Raven Studios YouTube page.
Okay, awesome. That's really awesome. So everybody here has no excuse to be bored this evening. Basically 3 hours of entertainment, including this one right here. So yeah, Ilana's asking for the link. Of course, yes, we have 20 minutes left.
No, she wants the link for somebody to show their name, how to show their name.
Oh, okay. It should be written in the description above this video right here. Yeah, David's on it. David's got it.
There you go. I just wanted to say one more thing is with Jaime, the red lipstick campaign the girls have was set up with Jaime and on the Warrior Within, right? So I just wanted to give her cred.
Thank you. I totally
give her
forgot
street
that.
cred.
I absolutely forgot. Thank you so much.
That's why I'm wearing the red bandana for Rosie the Riveter.
Yeah, let's all do it. Let's all do it. Everybody do it. Everybody do it. There. That's a screenshot. That's a screenshot. Okay, so now we're going to pivot with the time that we have left and have a little banner here. I didn't know how to call it, body positivity versus shaming, but we've been talking about this a lot, all four of us here and there. And there's really this double standard about, and it dovetails with what we talked about with the OT girls about women undercutting other women, but of course men do it too. This idea that women's bodies have been really taken control of for so many centuries, and we're still dealing with it, where a woman's body is so highly scrutinized. She's not really allowed to do what she wants to do. If a woman is showing a little bit of skin, it becomes often something like her whole reputation is different. Maybe even her professional career is different. Women will talk about her behind her back or whatever and try to undercut her. Men will have all these stereotypes. I mean, just because a woman might wear a little bit less clothing than another woman, or whatever she chooses to do with her body, in a way that men don't have to deal with. I mean, there are men who are literally, topless, like mowing their lawn or on stage. It's no problem. A woman tries anything even remotely near that, and it's World War III. Why?
Yeah, why, Renee?
Well,
makes no sense.
And because our bodies are seen as property still.
It's not fair.
They still think that they have to patrol us the way you patrol like your property. It's a little.
Well, it comes back to let's go back, right? It comes down to the fact that women, when you get married, you're supposed to be pure for your husband. Nowhere did anybody say the guy has to be, right?
Oh yeah, if
It's just
anything,
not said, right? And
if
same thing with
anything, the
Makes
bodies.
no
So your
sense.
body is protected. The funny thing is that I find ironic in my arguments over this is the fact that men can go topless
right.
and everything's hanging out, right? And women's breasts can't be shown. And they're freaking literally built to feed babies. And people are mad if they're showing, even
Oh,
when you do that.
there's
It-
problems even with women breastfeeding. If a
yes,
woman
that's
is
what I'm saying.
breastfeeding in public, a lot of establishments will ask them to
It's
leave.
crazy.
There will be it's like a whole thing. And it's like, well, how do you think this is built into our bodies, people? This is built into reproduction. Why my question is, why should a woman have to be, even by traditional standards, why should a woman have to be ashamed of the fact she was born or built? There's nothing we can do about our basic
Right.
anatomy. Why is that something that's shameful? And why is it something that's considered less than or inferior? Oh, you throw like a girl, it's like, damn right I do. I'm proud to be a girl. Or,
Yeah.
or men, this was like the Tiger Woods thing. Tiger Woods handed the tampon to his competitor who was a male to like undercut him and say, oh, you're like a girl, to try and like throw him off his golf game. And it's like, being a girl takes so much effort, so much strength. Our pain threshold is different than men. What
Yeah.
women go through in childbirth is different. And they always talk about the man flu. If a man is ill, it's like a big, everything stops. Women are ill all the time, and we just keep doing what we're doing. It's one of the greatest things you could ever be called. If someone's calling you a girl, you do something like a girl, all right, well, you're a badass.
Yeah.
You're a
Get
boss.
it. The other thing is like we're kind of in the middle of the world in our standards of what we think is okay and not okay. I mean, there's places that are a lot freer than we are in what they show on TV
Right.
and in commercials. Like sexuality isn't like taboo, right? And then you have the other end where, you can't even show your eyebrows, right? Like, God forbid.
Yeah.
So, this world is full of different people and that's okay. And we can all learn from it, but if it's your choice. If I
That's right.
choose to,
Something.
wear my turtleneck and
Yeah.
have,
Right.
whatever, that's my choice. So respect it. But having somebody tell me I can't or I have to, or
It comes down
that's
to
a
the
whole
property
other story.
thing. Yeah, and it comes down to
Eh,
property thing. Who owns your
Yeah.
body? It's not
And you
slavery
get the
anymore. I own
reverse.
my body.
You have the reverse, and like with flight attendants, men had to fight to be able to be flight attendants, right? Because they were supposed to
Right.
be
Yeah.
pretty and women and feminine, and God forbid a man wanted the job. So we're just
That's true.
stuck in our way. I don't know. I agree. I have no shame, people. I have no shame.
Yeah. Well, and Sandie Dee, you wanted to weigh in?
Yeah. I wanted to say because I've had kids. I've breastfed both of them, and it was awkward. For me, I'm always kind of shy like that, so I always cover up. But I've been around other moms all my life that breastfed out in public, and it was like no big deal. And I think it's better for the baby because, you have a baby has a boob in its face and it's trying to eat. So, you cover that baby up, you're limiting the oxygen that the baby's getting while it's eating. So it's like, I think it's better for the baby to be out in the open and not be covered up. Honestly, if you could do it, but I have friends that couldn't breastfeed and I understand that too. I understand all the situations. I just don't think it's for anyone to judge because I've always admired the women I've seen like on the bus or in the train as a kid. I've seen women breastfeeding their babies right in the public, right out there at the train station, no worries. I've always admired them. I've never been one of those people, but I don't have that kind of courage, but I admire the women that can do it. And there's no judgment because everyone has their own medical or physical situation that you can't, you do, you don't want to. Some families look down on it. Actually, my husband's family, very Italian, old school, they used to look down on it.
Right.
They just
Yeah,
did
definitely.
formula.
Right. Ilana is reminding us, and
Cultural.
Rachel is reminding us that Rachel wants Jamie to know that she is her adopted mom because she gives the best advice. So
Oh, thank you.
there you go. And Lilly May, who's in the audience, says she says body shaming for females is such a huge problem and also plays a lot into the huge gender stereotyping issues of today. And I want to talk about that. One of the things is if I'm dressed, quote unquote, even just pretty, even if it's not like sultry or anything, but just if I'm prettier, I get treated like I'm stupid. If I'm dressed uglier or whatever you want to call it, like if I'm really like, just dumpy or whatever, just like a hoodie or something, I'm treated like I'm smarter. What are men having to deal with this? I don't understand it. It's almost like I could control how intelligent somebody, a stranger, I mean, not someone who knows me, but it's almost like you can control it by why would it be that if a woman is considered sexually desirable, it would be a negative thing and it would somehow adversely affect her IQ. Whereas like men, if a man is really sexually desirable and he's intelligent, I feel like nobody's surprised. But I've literally had people say, like, once I open my mouth, if I'm looking pretty that day or I'm just dressed nice, oh, you're really smart. Like they're surprised. But I never hear that if I'm just sort of dressed. It's almost like it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show about women's fashion choices and women's bodies are so highly scrutinized and regulated in a way that men, men just don't understand it, but it drives me nuts. Can a woman,
Well, what are you doing? You watch a woman on TV. What is she doing? She's checking to make sure she's covered. She's
right,
not,
right.
God forbid, a piece of lace or, a bra strap show. Or, I mean, it's much different now, too. The kids are starting to be more open and free, which is, they're not as paranoid as we all were. But
Right.
remember, I think it was like the late 80s, we had like the shoe wars, right? Where women started being like, I'm wearing my heels to work. Because what were we told? You want
Right.
that business job, you got to trade those heels in for comfortable shoes.
Oh, it's a real thing. Even back when I was in law school, which was a while ago in New York, there were certain judges, and there's some holdouts today where if a female attorney is coming into that courtroom, the judge wants her in a skirt. He does not want trousers, and they will respect that. Even in New York, which I say that because New York is supposed to be this bastion of liberal ideology. Well, we're still trying to get past that. The other thing I know is that a lot of people talk about, I want experiential ideas from you women, from your childhood growing up or adolescence. But a lot of people talk about when you're growing up, kind of like the age of the OT girls, people will say to you, particularly other women will say, honey, no on the makeup, or they
Honey,
put in
yeah.
their chest. They come in, they check in. How many of you had someone sort of check in and say, well, you don't want to wear that out of the house? Or I've definitely had people tell me that when I was growing up.
So I was, my mom is really great. She's actually here right now, but she's really great. And she, one time I was at school and this was the 80s. So, everything went, we were like Madonna on steroids, right? So I had worn a dress to school, and they decided it was too short. And they called my mom, and the next day, me and my friend were brought to school wearing the same dresses again. So I had that. So that's where I get my attitude from, right? Like my feeling confident and being like, yeah, no. But at the same time, I should have been able to say it then myself, and I couldn't, right? I had to wait and have somebody back me up because we weren't allowed to say anything. But yeah, you should see my yearbook. It's awful to look back
Right.
now. Like, oh, you have a nice, oh, no, yeah, nice, I'll never forget that. Like, really? Because
I would love
I've,
to see
I've been
Em's
with my
yearbook.
I
husband since
want to see the yearbook.
I've
I
been
want
with
to
my,
see this yearbook.
I know, I've been with my husband since I was 15. So it's like, it's all like appearance, right? There's no, I
Right.
never, yeah. So
I think it was the exact opposite for me. I wasn't into like makeup or any of that when I was younger. I dressed like a boy. Like I was a tomboy and I dressed like a boy. And, it was put upon me. Why don't you wear dresses? Why don't you look more like a girl? I was a tomboy. I played in the dirt. I played hard. That's just all there was to it. And, the majority of my cousins were male. So, I was out in the dirt playing with them just the same, So I had the exact opposite. I didn't,
it's like balance, right?
Right.
Hopefully I'm teaching LindaRose to balance, and hopefully I taught my own children to balance. Like I played sports and stuff, we did everything the same, different things, like as LindaRose is doing now, and it's like, but I never understood how I could be on the basketball court in short little shorts, but if the next day I was walking into school wearing
Yeah,
those
that's
shorts,
what
I
I
get
don't
sent
understand
home.
about bikinis and
Like,
bikinis, or
it doesn't make
swimsuits.
sense.
Like when I would be doing swimming and stuff, even in school, you wear these little things, but then, it's like a panty line. It is a panty line and it's a bra line. And then you go to class that way and they would like throw you out, but it's the same part of the body. So it's all societal, and it's just like expectations.
Yeah.
And again, it's and again, this is my main point. I come back to my main point here, which is that women's bodies are still seen as property or not under the woman's control. They are still being controlled by someone
Right.
outside of her body. That is, for me, that's the root of all of this, and it's highly problematic.
And the thing is, it's okay if a woman doesn't. I mean, there's modest women, right? Like, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that either. It goes back to the whole thing we've been saying throughout this entire show is respect what the person wants. If
Yeah,
it's
it just goes
their
back to respect.
choice, right? It needs to be their choice,
Yeah,
not
otherwise we're
somebody
dealing
telling
with
them.
Yeah, and otherwise we're just dealing with slavery. What do you call a person who's being told what to do, what to wear, what to do with their body, where they can go, where they can't? That's slavery. So I don't believe in that. I don't believe that people control another person. I don't even believe that a husband should be able to do that to
Right.
his wife. You are an autonomous human being. Women are still trying to get to that point where we're understanding, because Hollywood and even books and stuff usually highlighted the protagonist as the male experience. We're just starting to emerge from that. And the Orchid Times girls have like a book club, or they read books, and because we're trying to get
Brilliant.
into the fact that women are people. It's like Soylent Green. It's people. We're
Right?
people, but we're people. And
We're just
Renee,
judged. We're judged all the time.
Renee,
We
are
are
we gonna have?
constant.
We're running out of time. We're gonna have another episode, and I want to know if you ladies have ever been body shamed, and I want to hear all your stories. And I have a story. We're gonna have another show, Renee.
Oh yeah, we're good. This is like a soft premiere, right? We're definitely going to have other ones. I want to hear a couple. We have a couple minutes for maybe some stories, but I want to read what Lilly May said, because she said generation trauma with this stuff plays a big factor, but I also feel that there's a choice of some point whether to be woke or not. There is a choice to be woke or not. What do you ladies think about that?
Well, I said it earlier. You have to educate yourself and
Yeah.
change. We have to. We have no choice. If we don't, we'd still be in the kitchen cooking dinner and with a baby on our hip. You know what I mean? Like, which is fine if that's what you want to do, but it's having the choice to do what you want. But we have to change, and we have to be willing to speak up, like Lilly May and LindaRose said. It's okay to speak up. We have given this generation a voice, right? We didn't have a voice. We tried, and we started that, but we would be shut down a lot. Now the women behind them are going, get it, girl. I'm here, right? We're pushing them. We're like, do it. We got your back. So it's a
Right.
huge difference.
Right. And I think that women have, I definitely believe that men have a responsibility to sort of introduce other men into allyship. So that's a voice that is dearly needed. So if you're a man, I don't want you to feel like you're outside of this conversation. You are integral to the healing
Absolutely.
here. So you're special. You're very needed. And women, I feel like they have an obligation. We have an obligation, a responsibility to carry that torch forward and to support one another so that we can all have a much better. Look, I don't want to have fights with other women. I don't want to go to battle with other women. It's hard enough. It is exhausting. Every woman knows what I mean. Men might not know this. Every woman is exhausted because of all the things that we have to deal with. We can't even walk outside of our house in the middle of the night the way men will say to me, oh, it's so great to go jogging in the middle of the night. You should try it. I'm like, yeah, I can't try it. I am still a second-class citizen. I cannot just randomly go out places that they can. I can't take risks that men can. And it's every woman has fear. If you hear something in the middle of the night, you're instantly scared in a way that like a man wouldn't have to be. I don't think men are aware of these things. Every time I try to bring a man into this conversation, I feel like the more he's open to being in a receiving, listening space where he can learn the way, again, like white people should be with people of color, not assuming we know anything, trying to
Right.
be in a learning space. But and here's David right now, as if on cue. I want to, but these are things that women talk about behind closed doors all the time, and it shouldn't be behind closed doors. I think that the time is here, the time is now to keep talking about it. It's the only way we're going to get anywhere, because when I hear women, like when Work at Times does a show, sometimes they'll say something that I thought I was the only person who felt that way. And now I'm
Right.
emboldened to come out and do something. So the more we are talking about women's experience and the diversity of women's experience, the way that we know that men are diverse, oh, if a man does something wrong, it's because he's that person. If a woman does something wrong, oh, maybe that's because she's a woman. She's held to
Well,
different
she's
standards.
emotional.
Oh, she's too emotional. All of these stereotypes. Someone talked about stereotypes. As we're leaving now, yeah, the stereotypes. Women are not as bright. They're not as strong. They're what? They're not as courageous. They're not good leaders.
Oh, God forbid you get angry. Then guess what? You're that bitch. There goes the B
Yeah.
word,
That's
right?
where the B word comes in.
If a man's angry or frustrated or speaks boldly in a meeting or what have you, he's assertive and confident. If a woman does it, then she's emotional and she's letting her emotions get the best of her. She's getting angry. She's, you know, obviously I don't, I don't
Yeah.
sign to that.
No, we were told that in law school. We were literally told in law school at in a very liberal location. Just make sure if you're a woman, just look over your arguments a little bit more and just make sure you're not being bitchy. It's like, and it was just
I believe it.
accepted to say that stuff. And it's just weird. It's surreal. A woman's experience is just surreal. And I don't think men have an understanding yet and they can't, of what women go through on a daily basis. But hopefully,
Well, we're
uh,
going to learn, right? Because we're going to bring them on. We're going to have those conversations, right?
that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a lot of conversations. And here's Lilly May. We'll end on Lilly May when it says, again, that plays into gender stereotyping. I remember back as an 8-year-old interested in science, I was told it was boyish and I needed to
Mm.
be interested in something else. My mother, who did become a famous psychological researcher and professor, she wanted to be an engineer and she scored the highest, like in the nation or something, at a certain, there was a thing that the Army had put out. The Army came to her high school and said, do you want in? And she said, but I'm a girl. I don't think I could study engineering. She really didn't think that that would be possible. Hillary Clinton was told by NASA, when she was a little girl, how do I become an astronaut? She wrote NASA. NASA said, well, you're a woman. There are other things you can do, but you can't be an astronaut.
But we're changing that.
We're changing that. And here's
How you
Jamie's
doing?
show. Here's Jamie's show, everybody. Sorry, I didn't see my thing. Bye, everybody. We're going to leave.